Welcome to Chaos to Clarity. I'm Bernie Rayno. Let's get right to our tropical system, which is moving west and will continue to move west. I want to show you the satellite picture, infrared satellite picture, a couple of things. Persistent area of yellow, oranges, and reds. That's important. You don't want to see these cycle up and down when looking for tropical development. You want them to remain persistent, and that's what we're seeing. Also, this is telling you you're getting cold cloud tops higher in the atmosphere. That means showers and thunderstorms. You also notice this feathering here on the northern side of the storm. This is actually showing good outflow or light winds aloft. Now, when we look at development, what do we look for? We look for these three key ingredients. We look for warm water, limited wind shear, and sufficient moisture. If you get these ingredients, you're going to get tropical development. Let's take them one by one. We begin with the water temperatures in the Atlantic basin here. These are actually the water temperature anomalies. These waters are running well above normal throughout the entire main development region in the tropical Atlantic. So these waters are in the lower 80s. The threshold for development is 78 degrees. So these water temperatures are more than warm enough. What about dry air? Let's take a look at that. I want to show you the water vapor loop. Now, typically, this is why we don't see development in the southeastern Atlantic, because you get all this dry air. You can see that on the water vapor loop right now, mostly north of the system. That's the key, but a lot of dry Saharan dust. But you'll notice that this system is actually pushing away the dry air. You notice that? And I've seen this before with these developing systems. When you get the dry air being pushed away, that is telling you that this tropical system, what will be a tropical storm, is creating its own environment for which it can survive and thrive. And that's what's happening. Note, there's dry air around it, but it's not coming into the center. It's moving away. Now, wind shear. Light winds aloft. There is some strong wind shear, not where the system is located now, but I'm going to draw this. You've got this dip in the jet stream in here across the Lesser Antilles. That's what's producing a lot of wind shear right now. However, the key is this trough, this dip in the jet stream, is going to be leaving over the next few days. Let me show it to you. Here it is. You see, here we are tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. You see all this yellow, red, and orange. This is wind shear from the dip in the jet stream. This is the Lesser Antilles. Here's where the storm is. All of the wind shear, even tomorrow, here's where our system is well off to the north. So it's in a favorable area for development pertaining to the wind shear. Now, watch this product as I go forward. Let's get into Sunday morning. Here we go. What you're going to see is a lot of this yellow, reds, and oranges near the Lesser Antilles is going to be lifting to the north. Here we go. I'll put this into motion. Here we go. Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and then we're going to go into Sunday morning. You see how that trough, that area is lifting. By the time we get into Monday morning, stop it right here at 8 o'clock. Note where this wind shear is now. It's way up here, Puerto Rico, central part of the Atlantic. Here's our system coming across the Windward Islands with little or no wind shear and warm water. Another way to look at it, another product, just to look a little different here, 200 millibars here, the same time, there's very little wind shear. What you're seeing are winds coming in out of the east. So again, this system has warm water, sufficient dry air, and low wind shear. It's going to develop. The question is, when does it become a hurricane? Does it become a hurricane before it gets into the Caribbean, or does it wait until after it gets into the Caribbean? Because of this wind shear, I'm starting to think it could be before, and that would be Sunday night, Monday morning. And oh, by the way, when you look at the wind shear in the Caribbean, as we go through this week, you're going to see something similar. You have wind shear now. This is Monday morning, south of Jamaica and Hispaniola. But what happens is, as you go forward, watch what happens. You start losing that wind shear. See how it keeps lifting to the north? So by the time we get into Tuesday evening, where's the system? Well, it's south of Hispaniola. Where is the wind shear? North of Hispaniola. Let me show that to you. Right in here. It's all up in here. It's all up in the southwest Atlantic. So this is going to be coming into very warm waters. There's no dry air and there's no wind shear. So this is going to become a hurricane. Now, the question is, Where is it going? All right. Let me show you why we think this is not going to be a threat to the eastern part of the United States. Because if you look at the steering flow, and let's go back here. Here we are, Sunday evening. What's going on? Here we go. Sunday evening. Here's our tropical system. It's right in here, right? What's steering us? This big upper high. So this is what's producing the easterly flow, which is producing the system or allowing the system to move to the west. This upper high remains quite strong as we move into Monday. Watch as we play this out. Monday into Tuesday, and I'm going to stop this Tuesday right here. You'll notice how the high, which is in here, is actually extending its influence all the way in the southeastern Atlantic. What does that mean? That means you're going to get an easterly steering flow, which will continue to move this storm, and at this point, a hurricane to the west. This high also, I think, protects. Now listen, if this high wasn't here and this dip in the jet stream was farther south, right? If this was farther south and this wasn't here, this would turn this into the Atlantic. But that's not what's happening. This high is extending its influence north of Hispaniola. That should drive this into the Caribbean. That also means that there's not going to be an impact for this system along the east coast of the United States. Nothing to me says that. Now, this upper high continues to move this, by the way, to the west. And then as we get into Wednesday, note what's happening here. You've got this big upper high also across the southeastern United States. So that will continue to produce an easterly steering wind, and that keeps this system moving along. Now, if this high were to weaken a little bit, that would allow this system to perhaps take more of a northern turn. If that would happen, I could see a possibility where this would get into the Bay of Campeche as we head into Friday. If the high continues to remain strong, then this goes into Central America. So right now, here's my advice. And let me show you our eye path here as we go forward. Let me show you our eye path as we go forward with this system. And here is our eye path. And by the way, this is the scenario I talked about, this upper high. If it remains strong, then this system, which will be a hurricane, will be driven into Central America. If it's weaker, then it would come into the Gulf of Mexico or the western Gulf of Mexico. No matter what I look at, it tells me that the central Gulf and the eastern Gulf will likely not have any impacts. Now, if you're in the Gulf of Mexico, you have to stay tuned to this. But I really think, based on what I'm looking at now, it is very unlikely that we're going to get an impact along the central Gulf Coast states and along the east Gulf Coast. All right? Now, South Texas, are you out of the woods yet? Not yet. But I still think it's unlikely you're going to get an impact. Still can't rule it out, because if this high would be weaker, then there could be a turn to the north, and then the equation changes. I think this high stays pretty strong, and that should drive this into at least the Yucatan Peninsula or even farther south. That's the thought process right now. Really quickly, I want to show you our eye path, and it's important to note, while others are showing you spaghetti plots and European model plots, I'd like to show you what we think. We're going to actually make a forecast. Here's our eye path, and you can see the timing of this. This is going to produce big impacts here across the Windward Islands, no doubt about that, especially Barbados, Sunday night and Monday. And there will be impacts in Jamaica. There could be some big impacts in Jamaica, especially if this goes to the south of the island. Also, anywhere Yucatan Peninsula toward Honduras, Belize, and even in Guatemala, there could be some heavy rain with this. That would be late next week. So again, this is our eye path. I'm going to keep it up as I end the video here. So batten down the hatches. I think this is going to be a hurricane. We have it in the hurricane into the Caribbean. Right now, I think the east coast of the United States, you don't have to worry about this. If you're in the Gulf of Mexico, anywhere in the Gulf of Mexico in the United States, let's monitor it. If we do get impacts, I think it is very unlikely we're going to get impacts along the central Gulf Coast states and the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico. We're still not going to clear you, though, along the western Gulf of Mexico, including extreme far south Texas. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, you can contact me. I'm on X, formerly Twitter, at AccuRayno.